I have a bag issue. I have one room with nothing but bags in it. Because when you've been homeless, you never throw away a bag. If it doesn't have a hole in it, if you can tie a knot in it, it's called a good bag. So I got this thing. I'm like a cat lady, I just have bags. Until I went to the military, the worst violence I ever saw in my life was at home. Unfortunately, domestic violence it came with the house. I was talking with my baby sister not long ago, and she and I both wondered, how did we get out of there alive? All of the cycles that we had to break, all of us, alcoholism, illiteracy, powerlessness, poverty, domestic violence, nothing that anyone could ever say to me will help me to understand why a woman stays in an abusive relationship. My mom was a kitchen philosopher, and she had these things that she could and would say that would cut it right to the bone. One of the things she once said to me that I will never forget was, son, there is no backup. That's one of the challenges that many, many entrepreneurs have to face at different levels and stages in their career. You cannot afford to fail. There are people counting on you. It's all on you. There's nothing guaranteed, and the cavalry is not coming. The single most important decision that I ever made in my life, I made it as a 5-year-old boy. That when I grow up, become a man, and have children, my children are going to know who their father is. There's something about having a shotgun pulled on you as a 5-year-old kid, and the sound of a round being jacked into a chamber that will help you make a decision. There was never any doubt whatsoever about me being there at my lowest, most challenging moment, living in train station washrooms with my son. In the film, Jaden Smith plays my son as a 5-year-old. In reality, at this point in our journey, my son was 14 months old. I had to look in the mirror in that BART station every day, watch my little boy, and ask myself some very hard questions. How did we get here? We were homeless, but we were not hopeless. There was a difference. And the answer was simple. How did I get here? I drove here. That was the answer, because you can't change something until you own it. And if I drove here, then I can drive out of here. We found a little place in Oakland, California. I will never forget. 2 blocks away from the train station we used to sleep in, I went over and started talking to this little old man who was sitting outside. I told him the truth. This is my baby, but we're looking for a place to live so I can keep working. And he said to me, son, y'all can move in here. No furniture. Nothing but my son and I. I do not know the words to convey to you what it feels like to be able to say to your child, we got a key now. We're home. And you know what? I still have the key to the house. Till this day, I met a guy driving this gorgeous red Ferrari in San Francisco. He's looking for some place to park. And I go over to him and I say, hey man, I'm coming out. You can have my parking place, but I gotta ask you 2 questions. What do you do and how do you do that? Turns out this guy's a stockbroker. He's not just a stockbroker, he's one of the best in the business. All he does is talk to people that he's developed relationships with and help them find investment opportunities appropriate for them. In other words, he was in sales. At some point, you've got to sell something, but the key is selling the right product to the right person. That's how you grow a business. I did my first year in the business at Dean Witter, and I am making these 200 phone calls a day, and I'm homeless, and nobody knows it. 200 phone calls a day with a rotary dial phone. You see how this one finger is cockeyed? That's my calling finger. And every day, there was this little old man who came to see this gorgeous female broker who sat next to me. None of my business. I'm sitting here smiling and dialing. This guy watches me for a year. And one day he comes up to me and says, "What are you doing here? You don't belong here. Here's my card. Come see me." Turns out that little old man was the managing general partner for Bear Stearns in San Francisco. I sat with him. I told him exactly where I was. I've got an opportunity. I love the business. I'm homeless. We're living in shelters, but I want to be in this business. Turns out the guy that I'm talking to had been married and divorced 3 times. He starts telling me about some of his challenges. And then he says to me, "What do you need to be here?" No one had ever asked me that question. That's a buying question. What do you need to be here? I said the biggest, most obscene number I could think of in my life. I need $5,000. Done. $5,000 a month, guaranteed for a year. By the way, here's 1 month's advance. Go buy yourself some new clothes. I went out and bought my first 2 pinstripe suits. 1 blue, 1 gray. And we went to work. People asked me, "Why did you start your own firm?" I started my own firm because I got fired. Had I not gotten fired, had I stayed there as many of my colleagues did, the future would have been very, very different. The guys that I used to work for are calling me to ask, am I hiring? There's a price that every entrepreneur must be prepared to pay. That price is the time you have to spend alone. There are going to be people in your life that love you, want the best for you, but they don't see the vision that you see. There's an isolation required there. But in that isolation, there's also empowerment. I had a life-changing experience where I lost the love of my life to brain cancer. I now know the greatest honor I ever got in my life was I got the honor of being her primary caregiver for the last 4 years of her life. And every day, seemingly, she would ask me the same question, which was, now that we can see how truly short life can be, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? You going to sit at your desk and write another deal? Or are you going to do something that makes a difference? So I got one KPI. How many young people can I put onto a career path that will allow them to create generational wealth in their family and no student loan debt? That's making an alternative investment in human capital. That's it. That's the most important thing I do in my life every day. I've got this thing about no, now, next, and never. Saying no to anything that's not directly connected to my immediate objective. Do it now. We don't know about next. There may not be a next. Now is the new next. You cannot do next until you master now. And never. Never quit.